It is 12:30 on a Friday, and every Friday around 12:30, we have our good friend Jake Gallen on from Emblem Vault. Emblem Vault, they're building some pretty amazing things. Not only are they building Agent Hustle, which I mean, I can't imagine how much stress building something like him is, but he's been phenomenal. He's been absolutely awesome. But they're also building a jumping system where you're gonna be able to jump your ordinals, jump your assets to other chains, right? You're gonna be able to jump, let's just say CryptoPunks to Bitcoin, putting on the strongest chain ever, locking them in an Emblem Vault, and actually having a receipt to that vault over here. It's gonna be really awesome, guys. Really excited for that feature. But I mean, the AI XBT, right, was just hanging out with Hustle. So we're gonna learn all about that. And without further ado, let's bring up Jake. Jake, welcome back to OnChain Revolution.
Dude, what's good, guys, man? Yeah, it's been 2 weeks since I've been on here after Yago was on vacation. So good to see you guys. And also, I was listening to the show right before this. Also, super excited for Arch Network. I think that's going to have a huge impact on the Bitcoin ecosystem. And from the Emblem side, we are migrating our token to keys on runes, and Arch was actually kind of in that initial thesis that they would potentially be one of the main places to trade runes and create a more efficient experience. So it does seem like a lot of people in the ecosystem are betting large on Arch being on top, as well as investors are now after their recent raise.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, one fund literally went all in and said, "Hey, we're gonna fund the top projects over here. If you guys, if speaking to builders, if you're interested, then come over here and show us what you got." So to me, that's a really vote of confidence from DPI, and having Dan held kind of behind in that that entity is also a big name that came on board there. But speaking of runes and stuff like that, we're gonna get into what you guys have with your TGE coming up later and all that stuff, and with Hustle, all that great stuff. I want to know real quick, because you have a lot of experience in the Bitcoin ecosystem and in crypto in general. What do you think about this drama from Bitcoin Core and the laser eyes with the op return lifting the data storage limits? I feel like it's not as big as they're making it to be, but maybe I'm wrong. Do you have any insight on that? And do you view it as good or bad?
It's honestly just more of the same. I mean, Bitcoin's largest centrality point has always been Bitcoin Core and the devs, and they're basically just saying that we don't care what you say. Like, we're not going to make the change, even though people are still kind of circumventing different rule sets, right, to get their data placed into Bitcoin, whether it's through Taproot or through these like side pools or kind of whatever the case is. I don't think they're going to remove it, to be honest, but maybe that's a conversation for 5 years down the road when there's a lot more influence on Bitcoin than just Bitcoin Core, and they can kind of get pressured out of making this change or adding different people to the repo or kind of whatever the case is. But it's the same conversation that happened 10 years ago when op return was first utilized and counterparty. It's the same exact thing now, just more eyes. And to me, it's kind of just a nothing burger. It's like just more of the same.
Gotcha. Do you think this argument like bleeds out into any other parts, and possibly this could be detrimental to what all the Bitcoin builders are doing, like what we're doing here? They say they want to take it further, like the Samson Mows and Adam Bax and stuff. Or do you think this is strictly about this limitation lift, and where everybody else is fine that's building the way they're building now?
So we actually just had Rafael Lavarde, who's been talking about Bitcoin for over 10 years at this point. They said that, this kind of debate gets at the heart of the big blockers versus small blockers. It's a lot of the conversation that happened in 2017, but kind of in a different form, where if you remove the data size limit to op return, then this opens the door up for more big block type technologies, right? More opcodes, etc., coming down the road, which I think is an inevitability at this point. And so it's kind of just the old guard still holding on before that change does happen. It's essentially kind of saying like the big blockers are right in some sense, which I do think I was going to put a thread about this later, but it seems like the scale of the layer 1 blockchain seems to be the right path. And I think Solana's kind of really shown that, because now Ethereum is basically backtracking and saying we're going to scale the L1 after really holding firm for 5 years. And moving arbitrary limit on Bitcoin essentially is kind of the same idea, just in a different way of saying, you know, you have to scale the layer 1 before the layer 2s. So it is a little bit of, you know, saying that the last 10 years of building, or maybe the last 8 years of building on Bitcoin for Lightning and all these other things have basically been largely a failed experience, and that we should go back to kind of rethinking the different options of scaling Bitcoin.
Do you know if this is technically a hard fork? 'Cause I was looking into it a little bit, and I'm having trouble thinking
Not
if
a
it's
hard
soft fork. It's not a hard fork, so it'll be a very soft
No.
fork.
Yeah. I mean, it's really, you're just, I guess it's a soft fork. I don't even know if you'd call it a soft fork. It's just kind of an update to Bitcoin itself. You're just moving. Yeah, you're just removing a limit, so it's just a merge within the repo itself, because the opcode already exists. So you're not adding an opcode, so that's not a fork. You're just changing a limitation on the opcode itself. I mean, I could be wrong, but my understanding was if you're changing the block size limit, or if you're adding or removing an opcode, there's a fork in there. But if you're just changing, you know, a point or just an aspect of something that already exists, then it's just kind of a merge into the PR. It's just like an upgrade, I guess.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. When I was talking to ChatGPT was like, at first it told me it was a hard fork, and then it gave me reasons why it could be a soft fork. So it wasn't really too sure, because there was so many different. So I'm guessing the guy Todd or whatever, his proposal was a little different than some other proposals that are in this as well.
Yeah, I mean, kind of my theory, and I put this post out when I did my 25 predictions for 2025, and one of them was that TradFi is going to back Opcat, and it's just this whole theory of just saying that the new party, or traditional finance, who's essentially the new money that's coming into the space, is going to want to scale Bitcoin in some way. And I don't think they're completely there yet of understanding the ramifications, but with ordinals continuing, you know, to grow, and runes and all these other meta protocols, right? You have alkanes, and I've actually seen a few slides of new execution environments like Arch that are getting funded and coming online soon. Like there's going to be some point of contention where people are going to want more users on Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's going to get to 200K or whatever it is, and it'll stall out for a while. And the people who've bought Bitcoin that high are going to be like, oh, we need to be able to get this price higher somehow. And new users on the network, right, means price goes higher. And so just a lot of the new money is going to want some sort of scaling aspect to it. You know, maybe that kind of thought of TradFi backing Opcat or OpsCTV or whatever it is maybe, you know, a few years too early. But I think eventually you're going to see some sort of, I guess you would say some sort of, I guess you'd call it another culture war on it, but it's going to be basically the Bitcoin core devs versus everybody else, which at some point they're not going to be able to just hold off their kind of philosophical or ideological views when the rest of the world wants something else.
Yeah. Well, it's already happening, because Peter Todd is the one that put the pull request in to remove the limitations, because supposedly Citria, which is utilizing BitVM, it makes it a lot easier for them, because you know they want to use something that needs to store 100 bytes, and right now the limitation is 80. So they're actually having to put the remaining 20 into you know, an output that actually bloats UTXO set, right? So it's messy and all that stuff, but I didn't want to spend too much time on it. I know that could get boring for the audience, but I was curious about your opinion, and I appreciate you breaking that down. But let's get into something more exciting, which is AI and Agent Hustle, and maybe you can update us, because it looks like he's made some friends with some other AI agents. One of them being one of the most popular AI agent in AiXBT. Could you talk about how that relationship started, and how you guys ended up partnering?
You know how we work. I mean, Adam and myself, you know, we're very friendly. We reach out to all the teams. Not the majority of teams are not as friendly as us, so they kind of just don't respond, or they see us reaching out as more of you know, an attack vector or competition, when really, you know, it's like, for us, it's like, hey, if you build together, you know, you amplify both protocols. And it seems like users mostly like that, or some people like to draw a line in the sand and box them out and not do these type of partnerships. So we'd reach out to tons of teams, and AiXBT is one of them that we just maintain a relationship with. And so once they announced that their API services were ready in private testing and that they were going to start adding a select amount of individuals, Emblem was one of those teams. And we integrated it. And I think we're first to market in terms of these different types of collaborations. They said that there's a handful of others that are also in the works, but we were just fastest and quickest to do it. And so it's pretty exciting. For us, it just shows that, you know, you can integrate any type of agentic software into Hustle and then have him interact with it. And that's kind of the experience that we'd like to give all of our users on the platform, as well as it's a good branding opportunity for AiXBT, and they get some market data on to see how these kind of partnerships will work out. Because at the end of the day, when you're building B2B services, right? In this case, it's API service. We're also building an SDK and an MCP, which Shannon actually tweeted out last night that he built a headless called Headless Agent Hustle. So this means that any company can come in and just build their own white label Agent Hustle. You don't really know how people are going to use it. You can have these kind of discussions on what you think is the best way for a business to use your, you know, API services or MCP server. But at the end of the day, it's kind of really under their own discretion. And I think it worked out well for both parties here. And we've reached out to a handful of other teams we're in discussions with to try to build, you know, a similar kind of AiXBT integration where they get basically their own mini app within Agent Hustle, and they get the branding experience. The users of Agent Hustle get to use their product more. It's, to me, it seems like just like a net positive overall. So yeah, excited how it turned out. The community seems to like it. Didn't really have too much of an impact on the value of the token, but over time, I suspect that will change.
Yeah, I'm curious with this headless hustle. I do love that name for some reason, but yeah, headless hustle. Is there anything that could, like, let's just say I purchased I came in with you guys. I got my own headless hustle. I named them Shizzy. Is there anything that I could do that could mess up the OG hustle?
No.
Okay.
No, it's a API service essentially, and there's an SDK, so there's multiple APIs and there's tooling. And we've had, I don't know, there's really probably 5 to 10 serious teams who've reached out that want to use it. Some of them are just individual creators. Others are actually like very large teams that are doing millions of dollars of volume. And the requests are kind of varied. Some people want to put Hustle into a Discord to, you know, test how they interact with other agents. Some people want to use Hustle's analytics to tie into their kind of trenching tools, right, for discovering tokens. Some users want to use Hustle and all of the features of the swapping and the LP and et cetera to integrate into their platform, to incentivize their users to do things with the tokens in their ecosystem so that they don't have to manage all of the backend kind of stuff. And so we've had to build it in this way where if you're building an AI suite to where basically they can plug in their own hustle, but they could brand it any way that they want, you have to think about the costs, right? There's inference costs, there's API costs, right? There's obviously brand value that goes along with it. But I do think that there's a very large opportunity in the AI space, which it doesn't seem like many people are pursuing, which is this idea of being, you know, a universal router for AI services. And what I mean by this is when you look across the crypto landscape, there's maybe 5 protocols that really run the entire thing, which a lot of people don't really realize. But on Ethereum, for swaps, everything is routed through Uniswap. It's called the Uniswap router. So all the liquidity flows all aggregated through there. And Uniswap gets a bottom line percentage off of all of that. When you look at the NFT space on Ethereum, OpenSea and Seaport runs everything. Every single marketplace runs on Seaport, runs on the order flow, the liquidity, the trading, and OpenSea basically commands that. That's why I always laugh when people say OpenSea is going to go away. I'm like, well, if OpenSea goes away, then the entire NFT marketplace, the NFT market just implodes outside of CryptoPunks because they have their own marketplace. When you look at,
So real quick, so Magic Eden also uses their
Seaport. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they use Seaport. Everyone uses Seaport. Blur, even the funny part of the Blur Wars was Blur was using Seaport when they were kind of like vampire attacking Magic Eden. And then there was this like game of Blur not doing royalties, but then OpenSea had royalties. So then OpenSea put in this royalty filter, but then Blur found a way in Seaport to basically block Seaport from that. And it was just like this game of kind of cat and mouse. And when you look, the two kind of final examples here is when you look at data aggregation, Chainlink basically routes all off-chain information into not just Ethereum anymore, but also to other chains as well, where they offer support, right? They have the Chainlink Oracle. And so everyone uses Chainlink for, randomness, on-chain randomness, and pulling information that's off-chain, whether it's, stock prices or kind of whatever that is. And then on Solana, everything runs off of Jupiter. Literally, like almost every single swap thing, like half of Agent Hustle runs on Jupiter, right? Most of these platforms run on Jupiter services. And so Jupiter basically doesn't care how you spin it, right? Jupiter doesn't care that we've branded everything as Agent Hustle for the swaps and stuff, or for the LPs, right? Like Radium doesn't care that we've branded it as Agent Hustle LP because, we're using their services. And at the end of the day, it goes back to their system and the value. They can move the value however they want. So there's an opportunity in AI to do the same thing where everyone's basically using your AI service and they can brand it however they want. And so we've identified this and we're definitely pursuing it. And there seems to be an appetite for it. The only other teams I've even seen mention anything is Wayfinder have said that they have an API service that they're going to launch in July, I guess. But outside of that, I really haven't seen anything. So we're going to move forward with that. We'll see how it goes. And to me, just like an insane opportunity.
Yeah, dude, like that's where you that's where passive income channels come from, right? And now that you say that, there's actually opportunities in the Bitcoin ecosystem for something like this. And I think like Maestro is trying to be that one of those services, maybe beyond as well. But like I know Maestro is doing that similar thing.
I did just reach out to, I forget what the founder's name of Maestro is. I was Marvin. I reached out to him and I was looking at their services for when we move Hustle over to Bitcoin. They seem to have the most complex API services for UTXO sets. So I think there will probably be some sort of usage or partnership there. And I realized they're powering Arch as well, which I didn't realize until I was looking through their docs.
We love those guys. We had them on for I think Arch Thursday or something, and we had a call with them. They're phenomenal. Those guys over there. They're actually Cardano devs, which is funny. Came over from Cardano.
I mean, UTXO is starting to become a lot more popular, or at least people are starting to understand it more. And you could definitely give credit to Ordinals for kind of kicking that can down and having people really look under the hood to see the empowerment of UTXO. But yeah, you are right. And for us, I haven't seen any other AI project that is really looking into Bitcoin. I've seen a few kind of like single service kind of things or a few kind of startup attempts, but nothing as far as like a generalized DeFi AI platform as Hustle. And we also have the experience in the community, right? Because Emblem Vault is majority Bitcoin NFTs that are trading. So of the 25,000 holders, you could probably say that 15,000 or 20,000 of those wallets are like Bitcoin native people. And so when you move over to Hustle on Bitcoin, you kind of start thinking about like, what does the Bitcoin ecosystem need in terms of AI, right? There's a lot of kind of automation and aggregation that you could do. There's a lot of arbitrage as well, kind of the simple things. But also there's a lot of kind of unexplored opportunity there. And if Arch really does take off, right, you could go in and integrate a lot of, I guess, like Saturn Swap and all of these other ones. And it would be just much more similar to a smart contract like experience. But with AI on Ethereum, it seems like there's a lot of projects that start on EVM because it's simple, right? There's a lot more tooling for it. But I don't see a lot of people using AI on EVM. Most people who are using DeFi tooling with AI is mostly on Solana. There's just really not that much. So for us, it's like, we start on Solana, which was the hardest to do. We'll move over to Bitcoin, which is also really hard to do, but we think we have the experience to be able to do that. And then we'll come to Ethereum later. It's just, there's maybe one or two applications on ETH right now that are any sort of interest, like Polymarket.
Yeah, and Arch should actually be a really easy integration for you guys because with Arch VM is very similar to SVM. Apparently, they both forked the same. There's another thing where Solana forked it, and then Arch actually just forked that as well. That's kind of what I got from it. I don't know how true that is, but we'll kind of see. Potentially, it could be really easy for you guys to integrate Arch instead of just going the full hard route and doing UTXO. If Arch is up and running by the time you guys are ready, would you kind of maybe skip over the going full the UTXO route and kind of maybe go full Arch instead because it's the same assets?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's going wherever the liquidity in the market tells us. Like I've made this mistake a few times in my earlier building years, but we have a small and lean team, and so we have to make very strategical decisions on where we dedicate our attention to. Right now, the attention's on Solana. Wherever it is on Bitcoin, we'll build there first, whether it's own fund in ICP or it's Arch or it's just at that point just the native market trading with like on Magic Eden, kind of like you see. But our kind of roadmap with Hustle is we'll have this B2B service live here hopefully in the next week or two. We're working on integrating basically all of the ulterior LP services. So the devs are working on Meteora, Whirlpool, and PumpSwap. And then we're going to launch our new business model as well, which will likely be a combination of a subscription service and some tokenomics to begin. And then from there, we have kind of a few decisions to make whether we want to add perps into Agent Hustle, right? So you can trade, go long or short Solana. There's options. Radium had reached out to us to integrate Launch Labs, which is kind of their new pump fund competitor for pre-bonded kind of solutions. And then after that, we're going to make a really hard decision on whether we want to move over and start building out Bitcoin or if we're going to finish our Telegram bot, Hustle bot, and launch that first. So both of those have pros and cons. Like if we move over to Bitcoin, we believe that probably onboards more users than the Telegram bot, but the Telegram bot probably increases more volume to the platform itself. And so you kind of, if you're a builder, you kind of have to put these like, goals and roadmaps out, but you can't stick to it. You have to be able to, move and make decisions based off of where the market is, because this industry is just always changing.
Yeah, if runes are flying, then it kind of gives you that idea. Maybe alkanes are pumping. Let's go that route, right? Or Arch is doing so much, numbers are huge. Go that route. So it really depends on where the market is when you guys make that decision.
Yeah, Alex did reach out to me actually about integrating alkanes into Hustle. They probably have the best tooling of any meta protocol, right? Because they've been building. They've been building services for 2 years at this point, right? And so, we had talked with them 2 years ago when they had first launched, and they have, they have node services, they have RPCs, they have SDKs, like they have a full suite. So I think integrating alkanes actually won't be that difficult because they have pretty easy tooling. It just depends if the market is still interested in it when the time comes 2 months from now, right?
Well, I want to revisit something you said. You said perps, right? And so if that's integrated, whether it's through Jupiter or whoever, is that going to come with the conditional style trading to where, hey, find me a position with this pullback, I want to sell with this percentage gain? Or would it be just more, take this position for me?
Yeah. So this is actually an interesting experience, or I guess you could say an interesting dilemma as I've begun building this. Because the best way to look at it is there's two separate things when it comes to these when it comes to hustle per se. You have the crypto integrations, and then you have the AI. And so the AI does some things, and the protocol does some things. So when you're integrating something like perps, you're gonna first look. If you're a builder, there's kind of a few options. There's like, we either take the time if we have a large team and we just build it ourselves, so that we can, make so that we can be the only fee taker on that. On the other side of that, it's you go look for services that have perps. We'll use perps in this example. So on Solana, there's, from what I've seen, Jupiter and Drift Protocol are the top two perps APIs. So you go in, you have to basically build the new front end, you take the APIs, you kind of build out the service. And then you have to integrate it on the hustle side. We then integrate it into Agent Hustle to see, so you could do kind of prompting, or you could do perp trading through prompts itself. And then on the Agent Hustle side, then it's, okay, how does he interact with the service that then is being offered, right? Because if you haven't built it, then you're basically you're stuck with whatever kind of rule set that they've done. And we haven't finished the automated trading yet, but we are getting close. We actually started building a copy trade service, and we've got it up, we've got it ready, but our service provider for nodes and for webhooks and some of the other service in database is kind of fallen behind. So we're kind of just waiting on them, but we have the infrastructure ready. And when the automated's ready, it's kind of a TBD, to be completely honest. Like, some people can say that they know exactly how, their automated services are. I saw that Hayanon is building an automated service, and Wayfinder has mentioned they're going to do it as well. These teams can say that they know exactly how this is going to turn out, but the thing about AI is that you have no idea what the output's going to be. You can kind of measure the inputs, but the outputs are kind of unpredictable. But you can kind of refine it to where you hope for it to go one way. So it is a little bit of a question mark on how it will go. So far, everything's been pretty well to the degree of what we wanted to do, but I'm excited for it. Like, to me, that's kind of it's kind of like the gold rush in the sense where you don't know how much gold is there, but you're just running in that direction, and you're bringing whatever tools that you have to hopefully kind of dig up as much as possible.
Yeah. And that's just the bumps and bruises, I think, of something that's innovative going into a new kind of thing, to where I'm sure 6 months down the road, a year down the road, your conditional trading is going to be smoother. And as time goes on, it'll just get better and better. So this is normal.
Yeah. So we also made like a shift on our media strategy as well. So we're just basically moving more into AI, as it seems like the Bitcoin media and commentary seems to be a little saturated, or it's just kind of divulged into everyone kind of just talking about personalities and not about product, which is always, it's always when it's time to say, all right, time to move on something else. So we have like a whole month scheduled with different types of AI founders, as well as we've been doing our live streams. Yesterday, Billy Betts the team showed up just randomly on the show. So we were like talking with them on how to build a Billy Betts, integration into Agent Hustle. And then you have the kind of automated tooling that'll be tapped on top of that, which is, really, really interesting. It actually just got an update. It looks like Shannon's ready to push our headless hustle into the staging area. So it means like it's moving from his terminal for us to start testing. So looks like that'll actually be live really soon then.
Is Shannon a group of people or just one guy?
Shannon
is it kind of like
is the
Satoshi?
We always made this joke when I joined the company 2 years ago. We were like, dude, we need 10 Shannons and we'll be fucking cooking. And then as AI's evolved, it's like we actually have like multiple. So he actually does work with 2 separate stations now, where he has he has AI on each of these workstations. So there's like kind of 2 of them now. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, this guy's
Like,
a
he has
fucking animal. He's always been our unicorn. I still to this day, I mean, I said this 3 years ago when I joined the team, but he's the most creative developer in the industry because he has, I guess now 13 years of crypto experience developing and 2 decades of building bots and AI type technologies. And so he's just so far ahead of the game. He has the output of like 10 developers. It's kind of crazy. I mean, you look at Agent Hustle versus Hanon, right? They have 16 developers and we have 2 developers working on Agent Hustle. We have 4 developers on Emblem, but 2 of them are focused on Shannon and 1 other is focused on just Agent Hustle. And we're probably developing at about, 60% rate of what 16 developers at Hanon are doing.
Wow.
So yeah, it just shows really just like how important he is and how far ahead of the game he is comparative to most people in the space.
Now I'm just picturing him with like a computer over here and a computer over there and like a conveyor that just takes some over. All right, time to go work on those other.
If you guys come to Vegas, you'll meet him, man. We'll have the whole Emblem team down in Vegas again.
Nice.
Yeah, man, that would be absolutely awesome. I kind of want to take it back a little bit. You mentioned you guys doing something with AiXBT, but you didn't actually say what is it. Can you talk about that? Is that something that you can talk about?
Yeah. So essentially, it's just kind of an alpha terminal. So what I mean by that is when we got the APIs from AiXBT, we had to figure out, first, what's the best way to brand this? What does the data do? And how does this, and what's the best use case for it for our users? So what the API is for AiXBT is essentially their terminal. It's all of his kind of tweets and longer form thoughts and something they're building called a momentum graph, which is not live yet. And so we basically just created this alpha terminal where it's just literally all of his tweets and all of his long form. Some of that's public, some of that's private within their paid terminal. And so you could go in there and just see all of it in kind of one use. And then we took the API and we put that API inside of our, I guess you could call it analysis toolbox. So you could go into Agent Hustle and say, give me alpha on Solana. And so Agent Hustle will go into this analysis toolbox and he'll pull the token information from Bird Eye. He'll pull the social stuff from Lunar Crush. He'll now pull what we call alpha. He'll pull the alpha, which is kind of just like news and theses into Solana. And then he'll pull from holder scan on holder analytics. He'll pull from rug check for rug check and a handful of these other ones. And then he'll just literally put it all out in a giant thesis of kind of the information that you get back. And a lot of people really like that. So it's not just AiXBT information. When you're asking for information, you get like kind of like 10 different services. But if you want to be able to isolate that just to see what AiXBT is doing, and if you don't want to go through his Twitter feed or you don't have access to his terminal, you just go into the Alpha terminal or the Alpha Mini app within Agent Hustle, and you get all of that information literally right there in one place.
So you're basically data dumping everything that AiXBT has been doing for over the last year into Hustle.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I was looking through it yesterday. I think they've set the API to it's like 50 or 100 posts per day that we get in that terminal. I know AiXBT tweets a lot more, but I think they're curating it on the back end and they're classifying it and rating it in some sort of way. And so I guess it's like the quote unquote most important information that he has. They're basically funneling through these APIs, which we get to the terminal. So you get all of the best information.
Incredible,
man. Yeah, so many streams of income for AiXBT. It seems like he, making money from his X account too. He's getting all those impressions.
They launched the Boop thing yesterday too, right? Launched the token. It's kind of funny where it was kind of the KOL dilemma where you get to launch a token, but you have to put your brand depending on how you say it, but you could potentially get this airdrop. For them, you could kind of just scapegoat it and be like, I don't know, AiXBT did it, right? It's not an agent, right? kind of thing. Yeah. but no, they're good guys. They're a really cool team. We've been interacting with a handful of them, and yeah, they've been really great.
Amazing. Yeah, man. Can you talk a little bit about the users? And I saw you do a tweet this week talking about how the users have kind of grown a little bit. Could you
Yeah.
talk about the analytics of what's going on with Hustle, maybe the amount as well?
Yeah. So let me do a refresh. So Hustle V2 launched on March 17th. So it's been like 6 weeks or so. We started tracking information on April 6th. So about 2 weeks later. So from April 6th to today, there's been 2,100 unique users. The average session time is 17 minutes. And there's been 22,000 visits to the website itself. On a daily use since April 20th, there's been a low of 150 users and a high of 220 users in one day.
That's crazy.
So, which is drastically up, because when we started tracking on April 7th, I guess is the first day. So April 7th had 65 users. April 8th had 129 users, and it stuck into that range until April 18th, April 19th, April 20th, then it shot up. So it's kind of been consolidating, and then 100 more new users came in. And so we like to, I like to share the information. It seems like other teams like to kind of show these kind of inflationary numbers, right? Where they say, yeah, we have, 10,000 users. And then you ask them, is this cumulative? Is this daily? And then they're like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe figure that out yourself. Right. Kind of thing. It's kind of interesting. Adam and I were on a stream the other day, or this AI Spaces the other day, and a team was on there. And again, I'm just pulling numbers from what they say. Apparently, their platform had $77,000 in trading volume in a month, but 1.2 million users is what they're claiming, right? Which
doesn't make sense.
And says
1.2 million users in crypto right now.
That's what I'm saying. So I guess everyone is using their platform. And it's easy to inflate numbers when you have like a token where people open up an account and stuff like that. But cumulative, I don't think is very authentic. And also too, I think users who have been around from the beginning, they like to see these like daily users numbers because they were there with you from the beginning, right? So it feels like they're a part of this journey, and a lot of them are. I know like these type of numbers, when you're more authentic of saying, yeah, we have 200 daily users, that's not going to have as much of a price impact on the token as people want, right? Where if I say, yeah, we have 1 million users, most, for a percentage of those people, they'll actually believe that. Like, oh, that's 1 million daily users, right? But that's not the case. Or if you say, yeah, we have 10,000 users, and really it's been cumulative over 4 or 5 months, like that has an impact on the token, whereas the 200 don't. But I mean, if we had been tracking since we launched the first version, we'd probably be in the same realm of over 10,000 people who've kind of interacted with it over the few months. But I like to be more authentic, and I think it's the investor side of things actually seems to be more interested in that. We've had actually recently like 3 or 4 actual kind of larger venture capital firms just reach out. I don't think it's actually for an investment, but they're just kind of saying that they're watching it and that they like these like authentic number updates. That's like the first thing that they point at is we like to see the growth. So I guess it depends on kind of who you're talking to. But for us, the numbers are real, and we're getting about 6,000 requests a day. So think of one request as one prompt. So it's about 200 to 300 prompts per hour.
Yeah.
So you're getting about, good.
I was gonna say, they're real because you guys are paying the inference fees, right?
And I mean, I'm gonna be completely honest, dude. If you have 1 million users, you're probably paying $10 million a month in inference costs. Like, it's not a cheap thing to do. Even having 10,000, active users, depending on the model that you're doing. I mean, even if you're using the ChatGPT Mini, it comes out to a tenth of a penny So even if you have 10,000 users and they're doing, just say even 10 prompts a day, right? That's a penny. So then you do a penny times
10,000.
yeah, times 10,000 people, right? What is that, like $10 or $100 or something
100,
like that?
$100.
$100, right? That's that's sustainable. But the ChatGPT Mini, we've tried testing with it. I think this is what some of these protocols are using, because with the Mini, it doesn't work half the time, and the other times it does work, you have to be very specific. You have to put the contract address, you have to put the exchange, you have to put the ticker, you have to be like very, very specific. Whereas we kind of went the other route. We used the more of a premier model that's more expensive, but you could be much more loose with the interaction. You could just say buy bonk, and it kind of figures, and it knows what to do. Whereas these other ones are fucking impossible. They would never work with Agent Hustle. We've tried. Once we get this automated trading and state machines live, I think we have a better direction on, hey, these prompts are, less intensive, so you can kind of use these lower models. But then these more complex things, you have to use these more premier models that are much more expensive.
Yeah. I would be so worried if I was you, like wake up one day and just save 100,000 new users. Like, oh crap, this bill's gonna be insane.
Well, this is why we have to change the business model here soon.
Yeah.
Is, we've told all of our users that, this has been free for 6 weeks. It's not cheap to run. We're not a VC funded company, but we have, now product market fit, and we have users. Obviously, we don't want to run people out the building by charging too much. And obviously there's a token as well. So you want to, make sure that the incentives are aligned. It is interesting though, where some of the VCs and funds and analysts that have reached out, asking us about tokenomics and stuff like that. Some of them are helping other AI companies, and they've said that a lot of the AI projects are in a similar position to what we're in. And what I mean by that is, when the AI boom happened at the end of last year, all of these tokens were launched on Pump Fund. And so what happens on Pump Fund is you distribute 100% of the supply. And so the majority of these AI projects have less than 10% of ownership of the token. Like, we only own 6% of the token, because we didn't really expect it to take off. It was more of kind of an experiment. It's lucky we even have that. And so now you have this dilemma where, users want the token to go up, but you have, 95% of the token distributed. Whereas something like Wayfinder, where you can basically control the supply the entire time because you're only releasing 20% of the token, right? So it makes it much easier for the number to go up in that kind of dynamic. And so that's why I think you see things like Hustle and some other popular projects that are under 20, 30 million, even though they have 50,000 holders, is because the whole entire supply has been distributed. And so then you think of like, okay, how do we get back to, a little bit more supply control? How does that fit into our business model? And then how do we get the basically the number to go up, or the value to accrue? Because that's the best marketing. You don't have to pay for marketing if the number is going up, because everyone on the timeline does the marketing for you. So it is a complex, situation to be in. I guess you could say that, there's, a few dozen teams who are in this position, so that we're kind of not alone. But it just means that the best teams then will survive, who can be able to employ, a solid tokenomic strategy over the next 6 months to a year, and be able to kind of dig yourself out of this free or complete supply distribution that happened last year.
Amen.
Awesome. Yeah. So, we've been pretty much hitting on Hustle, which is obviously it's like a big part of y'all's focus right now. There is another aspect that you guys have really, become experts in, and that's kind of bringing assets from different ecosystems, environments, chains, however you want to say it, to a new ecosystem, environment, and chain. And so that is, a big part of your business as well. You guys are about to have the vaults. Could you talk a little bit about that before we end the segment?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are deploying on Base. We've already done it. The first 2 collections on Base are going to be 2 e-scription collections, MF pers and P pers. We've started adding the metadata, and I think Shannon's also started working on the minting of it as well. And then on Ethereum, we deployed a Taproot Wizards collection because there's a certain protocol that's requested that. So we want to support that. So it's really just kind of hooking that up and getting that underway. And then we'll get those launched. And then we can market it as well as the bulk minting tool. It all kind of stems from the SDK. Shannon's been basically taking everything from Hustle, everything from the Emblem system and all its varieties, and then kind of merging it all together. And it's been a lot more complex, I guess, than he had anticipated. But with Hustle, the headless Hustle being live, that takes the AI side of the SDK done. And I know the last few days before this Hustle stuff, he was working on the base integration as well as the Taproot Wizards. And so once those are live, and once you get the first collections set, then essentially you have the pathway to then deploy basically as many collections as you want. I know there's like 2 or 3 other e-scription collections that have reached out to us who also are in the queue who want to launch. And then I think on ETH, we're going to be probably deploying collections for all of the traditional ETH collections like CryptoPunks and Penguins and Apes and stuff like that. And we already have a lot of the ordinal collections live. And then we are also working on Solana. It's great. We have 2 developers that are working on the Emblem side of things. And we're also building our point system as well, which is, I think we're going to launch probably at the beginning of Q3 alongside a cross-chain NFT application that we've also been developing in stealth that I think should be pretty interesting to a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know what you're talking about. It's exciting for when that comes out too, and I know you guys are going to probably hold that back for a little bit, but for the audience, that is going to be really fun and exciting. I'm curious. You guys were known for kind of, helping some of these old OG, the first NFT collections really from Bitcoin have success last cycle. Did you guys do like joint marketing with like the rare pepes and stuff like that last cycle? If not, do you plan to do something bigger this time? Because like, you're gonna have a lot of opportunities with a lot of different collections going from here to there. Is there gonna be like this guerrilla type marketing or just like in your face type marketing collaborations with them?
It's a good question. No, everything's really happened organically. Most projects that have used Emblem are doing it out of necessity. So like ordinals, for example, right? There was nowhere to trade these, so people were doing it out of necessity. Same with rare pepes and such. With the e-scriptions, people ask, why are we moving these e-scription collections to base? Well, there's communities in e-scriptions, but the protocols not actively being developed on by the e-scription team as they move to build Facet, which is kind of their L2. So these communities are really just kind of stuck in one place. And so they want to move over to Base so that they can be a part of the Base ecosystem and start actively trading. And right, with deploying Taproot Wizards on ETH mainnet, that's because there's a ETH NFT-Fi protocol that wants that has a lot of volume. And I guess you're getting a lot of questions. So our approach generally is through the grassroots kind of guerrilla marketing style, where we just talk with developers or communities or creators who have a certain type of use case. And generally from what I've seen happening is once one person does this, then everyone else kind of follows suit, right? So like one of the conversations that we're having internally is 2 years ago, even up to about 1 year ago, the big request was, hey, we want ordinals on Solana, right? And so when that's live, in the next few months or so probably sometime in Q3, how do you get people to move their ordinals to Solana? Or is that even something that's even of interest? There's obviously always going to be pushback. We found, right, this idea of like moving NFTs cross-chain is still very fringe idea. And Bitcoin community still has this like maximalist perspective, although that is slowly fading into the background, right? Of like, we want to keep our NFTs on chain. We want to keep our runes on chain kind of idea. But for us, it's like all you need is one, one collection from ordinals to, start trading on Solana, and for the Solana community to pick up on that, for everyone to do that. Or for example, you could do this with CryptoPunks. If CryptoPunks are trading on Solana and people like that kind of fast transaction speed, then eventually other big collections are going to be like, oh shit, I want to do that as well. So it is a lot of groundwork. It's a lot of DMing, Telegram chats, going through this conversation, getting them on the show, build familiarity. It's a lot of the kind of politicking, networking type stuff, which I don't think a lot of teams actually do. And so this is why I think that we excel, is because that's just something I've been kind of groomed to do my whole life, being in Vegas, working on the strip, and, being an entrepreneur. You just know the ground game. And I think it's a very underappreciated aspect of crypto that not a lot of people are aware of, or that even has to be done. A lot of people in the space think that, hey, we're going to build this protocol and they're going to come, or we're going to build this protocol and we're going to hang, a token in front of everyone. But where the real money's made and where the real adoption is on the business side. When you do these collaborations, right, with whether it's a business with the creator team or two projects or whatever, that's really what has, it has large, magnitudes of effects. It's, it has this amplification of acceptance and trust when you get two big people working together. But at the end of the day, it's still humans on the other side of these projects and businesses that you have to go and have the conversations for. And with the NFT space, it is probably, I would say within the NFTs, that's definitely amplified, because there's this like aspect of tribalism in NFTs. There's this like culture, right? There's this emotion, because people are tied to their, assets because of the non-fungibility of it. And so we're just going to continue to do what we do and continue to have this ground game and this effort. And right now the focus is on AI because, I think that has the largest impact. But at the heart of it, Emblem, we're still the largest NFT bridge in the industry by far. I did see that Yuga Labs has their own kind of Emblem competitor now called Shadows.
Really?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
called
wow.
Shadows.
It's the mirror approach, right?
Yeah, so they're using an indexer and layer 0, something called LZ read to do it. Which is good, right? I mean, for us, then it makes us, even more competitive. Each solution offers different types of things. With their approach, they can't do Bitcoin assets because it uses smart contracts to do that until layer 0 figures out how to deploy on Bitcoin, I suppose. But yeah, so there's another competitor, right? They're moving apes and stuff over there. We have 5 years of development experience on them, although they have a large team. That's probably the most funded company in the industry. That's also working with probably the largest or the most funded interoperability protocol in the industry. But that doesn't scare us. That only makes us work harder. So yeah, couldn't be more excited.
Yeah, competition brings out the best in you, right? That's
It's
kind of
best for
the theme of a
users
lot
at
of
the
these
end of the
teams.
day, which is the most
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And last thing I'll say on that is I think you're absolutely right. Like, you got to have a business side of it. It's not a build it and they will come situation here at this point. You got to collaborate. And you see that with, like, that's the first level in our space. And then the next one is something like what Luca Nets is doing with Pudgy, right? Like, going out to Web 2 and bringing it in. Obviously, it depends on your project, but I'm excited for you guys, man. You guys are going to have a hell of a year. You're going to be able to brand everywhere. So I'm definitely looking forward to that, and appreciate you spending your time with us and the community, breaking down every week for them what you guys are doing.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I always enjoy the conversation. Should be a good year. We're working hard to get where we need to be. There's a lot of cool and exciting things that are going to be happening. And yeah, man, appreciate the time. Should be a fun year overall. Again, I'm going to keep telling you guys to come to Vegas. I know you guys don't have a plan, but make the last second trip and you'll enjoy it.
100%.
Yeah, man. Is there any would you guys consider changing names to like Hustle Vault or
Hustle Vault.
or anything like that? No, I'm just kidding. But I would love to give you one more last words to the community.
Yeah, it's just same thing day in, day out. We all work 7 days a week. We continue to grind. We're taking a little bit of a focus on AI because I guess you could say the Bitcoin community, at least from the media side, you guys have it covered. Everyone has it covered. You know, you guys even expanded a little bit. And in a bear market, you should be able to expand to other areas. So for me, it's, you know, it's another adventure. I've done this now 3 or 4 times in the crypto space of expanding wider and wider and wider. And it's a new space that I continue to learn and get to meet new people and eventually bring that all back to the Bitcoin space, which I still find to be the most interesting blockchain of all 3, but it takes a lot longer to develop. So yeah, we're going to be here for a long time and a good time. And yeah, appreciate you guys, and have a good one.
You too. Have a good weekend.
See, man. Absolutely awesome. As always, really appreciate Jake giving us the time. And you guys, man, you guys are lucky. You actually get a one-on-one, you know, like almost like a fireside chat with someone who's building something not just, you know, awesome in AI, but awesome with the NFTs and the ordinals space as well. So we're definitely lucky to have them as a partner, and really appreciate 485 of you guys in here right now. Absolutely awesome on a Friday. Love it. Love it. 2.5 hour stream, man. I'm beat. I know you're beat. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, it's been a long week, but a productive week. And, you know, we have a big announcement for you guys next week as well. So stay tight with that. And appreciate each and every one of you guys. If you could hang out a little bit longer and check out our partners, we would greatly appreciate that. Merlin Chain is the scaling solution for Bitcoin Layer 1 assets and protocols. If you are a builder on Bitcoin Layer 1 and you want to scale your protocol, build on Merlin Chain. They have great builder support there. And if you're a retail user and you want to swap for Doggo to the Moon, go to merlinswap.org. They have a great liquidity pool there as well. Last thing is, if you have Merlin Chain tokens, you can help secure the chain with a proof of stake and earn 15% APR at merlinchain.io. And then BetBTC is the predictions marketplace of the Bitcoin ecosystem. They utilize ICP and Bitcoin tech for you guys to be able to place bets on their marketplace. All you need is a Bitcoin wallet, some Bitcoin, and 6 Bitcoin blocks. You can place bets in their Blitz markets, which is 10 minutes to select the price up or down for Bitcoin, Solana, or BNB. You can choose, and then additional 10 minutes to see if you win or lose. And you can learn more by visiting their website at betbtc.win. And Emblem Vault, we just talked about these guys. We didn't go over their TGE, which is a runes token that's coming out in September of this year. So about 4 more months. You can actually participate in a pre-sale environment right now on OpenSea. If you go search Emblem Founder Vaults, it's an NFT, but once it gets to that TGE date, they will give you instructions on how to get those Bitcoin runes in your Bitcoin wallet. You know, you can also learn about Agent AI Hustle or AI Agent Hustle, as well as their vaulting service at emblem.vision. And then Artura Finance is the perps and leverage DEX of the Bitcoin ecosystem. They will be launching on Hemi Bitcoin Layer 2, which is backed by Binance Labs. So, you know, that's a big backing there. You're going to be able to trade synthetic fungible Bitcoin tokens like Sats, Ordi, Doggo to the Moon, $1 Billion Cat, as well as popular fungibles outside the ecosystem like XRP, Tau, and Ethereum. Right now, they're doing an educational series that have partnered up with us, and we are doing trader spotlights. If you are a trader, an experienced trader, and you want to get into one of these episodes, reach out to us. We'll definitely give you a review and see if it's a good fit and possibly get you into our next episode. But make sure you're following these guys, because that mainnet launch is right around the corner, and you can visit their website at artura.finance today. And then Fluid tokens. We talk about them so much because they're always in the news in the Bitcoin ecosystem. But right now they're over in San Francisco finishing up the Draper University. These guys started off on Cardano, still on Cardano, but building and making big waves in Bitcoin. First to offer retail staking vaults to the public. So if you have a collection in terms of an ordinal collection, or you etch the rune with an established community, remember, it has to be an established community. It can be a small established community, but just an established community. If you want to get a staking vault set up for your community, head over to their Discord, ask them how to get started. They have a team waiting for you guys over there. Very, very soon, they're going to have a new airdrop tool as well. And don't forget, they have their Aquarium bridge and DEX that takes you from Bitcoin directly to Cardano and back. You're going to be able to bridge the FLDT Rune token, which is also Cardano token 1-to-1. A lot of options for you over there. Visit fluidtokens.com. And then Tokyo Wallet, our latest partner, which we're super excited about. These guys are not just a smart mobile wallet, but they are also a swap within their wallet, right? They partnered with Sats Terminal to give you guys access to be able to swap for Bitcoin runes like Doggo to the Moon. You can also actually onboard directly with Apple Pay, Google Pay as well, and get some Bitcoin directly there. But their wallet is amazing. It's a great user experience. They're only going to make it better and better as they're just getting started in the Bitcoin ecosystem. But they support Cardano, Bitcoin, and very soon Sui as well. These guys are smart. Their team is amazing. Download their wallet on Apple apps, the App Store, as well as Google Play. Let us know what you think about it so we can give some feedback to the team there. And don't forget about our integrated partners in Foxy AI and Ordinal Hive. Foxy AI is building the metaverse in Bitcoin on Bitcoin called the Biverse, as well as their Cypher Striker first-person shooter game, which we live stream every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. You're all invited. All you need is a supported wallet, as in a Bitcoin wallet, a Phantom wallet, or I believe MetaMask as well. And then you just pick a clan that you want to join, and we go to work for about 45 minutes. It's a really fun time. And then Ordinal Hive, these guys are very, very close to kind of having all the features on their platform, but they are an aggregator ordinal marketplace. So think about finding the cheapest ordinals on Bitcoin Layer 1, the cheapest ordinals on Bitcoin Layer 2, and you're going to be able to find them there. They also have amazing trader tools like live mempool insights for you guys to grab something that someone accidentally mispriced. You could be the first to grab that. But thank you guys so much for checking out our partners.
Yep. Great job, man, on that. We're gonna be simplifying that a little bit starting next week. So that was a lot. I really appreciate you knocking that out, bro. But if you guys wouldn't mind checking out onchainrevolution.io, we have some of the best articles dating all the way back to 2023. If you guys are interested in, checking that out, going all the way back in time and kind of learning what was happening and kind of leading up to where we are today, or send our website to somebody. We really feel it can help them get started and code up to where we are. If you guys need a VPN, NordVPN is the one, guys. I just learned, Jacoby just showed me that I can actually download it to my little puzzle piece up here with my my Google Chrome extension and actually have it up there. It's actually simple now. Now, every extension, I can have a different area VPN that I'm using. And not to mention, it has a malware protector. It has so many other things that you guys can use. Definitely check out our NordVPN. I think it's like $3 a month, guys. So $36 for the year. I think that's what I did. Definitely looking into it will definitely probably help you in the future. You do not want any malware on your computer, and they can actually help you with that. So check that out, NordVPN. Use our link that helps the show. If you guys are going to Bitcoin 2025 Las Vegas, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be exciting. But you guys are running out of time. You got about 20 days until the conference, 24 days until the conference, and these tickets are going to be the highest you've ever seen on them price-wise. So don't wait. Get them today. Get them through us. It definitely helps the show. And if you need merch for that event or any event, or just kind of lounge around at home, check out our store tab. We have so much really cool stuff here. This one, the Ordinal Revolution shirt, going out. We're taking this down this weekend. By Sunday, this shirt will be gone. Never sold through us ever again. And if you have one, you'll be considered an OG, like my man, Mr. Sheedy. So, and Danny Boy apparently has 2 of them. So shout out Danny Boy. But these ones are the OG shirts. We taken down, exclusive item. We were replaced by an OnChain Revolution shirt. But definitely check out everything here, guys. Really appreciate anyone just at least taking a look. It means a lot. And check out onchainrevolution.io. And guys, we are live Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, and 8 a.m. Pacific, and 3 p.m. UTC. Check us out all week, guys. And until Monday, peace.
OnChain Revolution roll call. Market recap. You not bullish enough, no. You're not bullish enough, no. Look at the price go, Bitcoin control. Why you still coping? Price action rolling. Don't fall for bear trap. Swapping indexes and putting it up in the sex. I can take profit right now. OnChain is where I be now. You can never look back. They don't want you to know. How did the market react? Fear and greed, gotta adapt. Now we bridging the tokens and marching the network right now. You know how crazy we are. Nookies are savages now. They know how crazy we are. Chain abstraction, main attraction. OnChain Revolution.